In this video, I'm going to describe how the record of action for division can be generated to give rise to one of the more standard ways of recording our actions. Now, when we first developed division, we used the example of a 4 by 6 rectangle, and we asked ourselves questions such as, if we take the 24 and we divide it into 4 equal parts, how many will there be in each part? And we counted up and we found there were going to be 6. And we can see that again here. This unit from here to here is my 4, and each of these parts are equal. Well, how long are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So part of the dilemma with division, as we found out, was there's just so many different ways of representing that particular question, which is, what is 24 broken up into 6 equal parts? One way of representing it was the way that we did in our introduction, which was 24 divided by 4. Another way to say this, however, would be 24 using the old-style division sign. Yet another way of saying this would be the way Pa and Ma Kettle would have said it, like this. The way we're probably used to seeing it looks like this. And again, there's still yet another way, and that looks a lot like a fraction. And so, because of the fact that division can be represented in so many different ways, sometimes, as Zoltan would say, the kids have symbol shock. They get hung up on what the symbols are without really thinking about what is being represented. In this case, the creation of equal parts. And so, I'm going to share with you a little trick. I'm not a big fan of tricks generally, but this particular trick is kind of fun, and it shows the development of a record of action that's useful for the kids. So up here, if we were to count this rectangle, we see it's 4 in this direction. We see that it is 6 in this direction. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to draw in the other two sides here. And if we mark it the way we did in our developmental example, we would actually draw in each of these. And then we can count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 18, 24. So this is the most complete record that best models this particular object. So this rectangle we've created with our base 10 blocks could be represented by this sketch. And what I hope you see is that we're using the sketch to record the action on a physical object. So typically, if we act on a physical object, it's fair game to use a sketch to record what we've done. It's not to replace this action. We still have to go ahead and do this. We have to represent it physically, do the counting, whatever necessary. But when we represent it as a sketch, this now has meaning because it is based on a physical activity that we've done with our students. So, having done that, maybe teacher gets a little bit lazy. And I'm using this in the sense that Zoltan would when he said that on occasion he would make mistakes to see if the students would catch him on it. And maybe our first step of being lazy is we still draw the full rectangle, we draw the 4 and the 6, and we just record the 24 inside. We basically leave out the unit squares because we've seen that. And then we get a little bit lazier. We say, oh man, I'm just tired of having to draw all 4 sides of this rectangle. I'm just going to draw it like this. That's starting to look a little bit more exciting, isn't it? And so then when we get even more lazy, oh, poor clumsy teacher, look what clumsy teacher did. And now we have a problem that we can send home with the expectation we'd get some family support, because this looks like what we expect division to look like using one of the very standard ways of recording division. So I admit it's a little bit of a trick. Is it fun? Yes, I can tell you based on many years of use with a lot of kids, it's a lot of fun. They get a big kick out of it. It's also a nice way of developing meaning for this particular symbol. So when we think of this symbol, it helps us remember that really we're thinking of a full rectangle. And when we have some number over here, that tells us how many equal parts we are creating. And when we have a number up here, whatever that number is, that tells us how long that rectangle is. So we can unpack this symbol now, so the symbol has meaning as well as being a record of our action. Couple takeaways here. Symbols are okay as long as they have meaning for the students, and we can generate that meaning through use by starting with concrete physical objects and then using sketching to generate a record of action of the physical objects. Once it's on a sketch, that can easily be manipulated to generate a formal record of that action which best records the work, while at the same time looks like the standard way of proceeding that someone who hadn't had this background or experience would expect.